Okay, this one I'm a little embarrassed that I never thought to me to do this video yet, but I've already done a video suggesting like Punisher the Cell when it kind of dawned on me. I haven't done a suggestion for probably my favorite comic book of all fucking time, which is Batman Under the Red Hood. And I've already done a couple videos on Red Hood, like talking about what's happening with the Titans show, like what writers can learn from him, like a bunch of different stuff, and articles talking about him. But I haven't done one just talking about why I think you should get a comic about Red Hood, well, that involves Red Hood. This is probably the definitive one. It's either Under the Red Hood or Red Hood The Lost Days. Like, those are the two best Red Hood stories, in my opinion. But I'll mainly be focused on Under the Red Hood. Now, Under the Red Hood is kind of like a mystery. And, like, now you probably know who the Red Hood is, but it's very compelling to read just because of, like, as it progresses and you learn more and you see Batman's obsession with finding out who Red Hood is and trying to understand how he came back. It's just, fuck, it's kind of heart-wrenching, almost sorry. Like, if I actually gave a shit about Batman, I'd probably feel sorry for him, but this kind of solidifies why I despise Batman on some level. Like, I don't hate him, but I do loathe him on a level. And this comic is partially why. That's the only downside, is it makes you hate Batman on a certain level because of how... Like, there's this good line in the comic where Red Hood says, what? It's too hard to cross that line. And Batman says, no, it'd be too easy. It'd be too damn easy. Like, there's not a day where I've not wanted to take this man into a dark corner, inflict every horrible thing he's ever done to someone onto him, and then end him. And then he says, but if I do that, if I go into that place, there's no guarantee I'll come back. Which I think is a bullshit excuse. Like, it just seems as like an excuse in general. Like, I fully side with Red Hood in this. Like, he's been fighting crime for God knows how long, and it hasn't gone away. And he thinks his way is the best way. He doesn't ever consider the possibility that someone else might have a better idea. It's just, no, it's my way or the highway. That's the feeling I've always gotten from Batman, and I cannot fucking stand it. But yeah, this was like my first comic that I ever bought, like, I think in 2015 or 16. Really good comic. You see, I like the banter with Nightwing. I like the brief exchange he has with Red Hood. I like sort of like how Red Hood moves to try to gain control over the entire crime of Gotham. And it's fantastic, and they actually incorporated some of this into Titans, now that I think about it. Like the scene where the bag full of heads is thrown onto a table. That was lifted from Under the Red Hood. It was one of my favorite scenes, actually, is like when someone yells at him, you want to kill yourself? There's other ways to commit suicide. He's like, yeah, like yelling at the guy holding the AK-47. So yeah, like Red Hood is deranged in this story. Like, the thing about Red Hood you have to understand is when he came back, he was kind of unstable. Like, he was almost sociopathic. So yeah, even though I root for him in this story and I want him to win, it just does not go that well. And I like the ending the most. Like, the ending is probably the most satisfying for me because it shows one of Batman's greatest failures coming back to haunt him. And I don't mean he failed Jason Todd. I mean he failed as a father in some regards. He failed as a human being. And I don't know, like, Batman is kind of like a sore spot for me. Like, if I met Batman in real life, I'd probably want to shoot him. Or at the very least, punch his lights out. Either that or kick him in the junk. It's hard to say, really, because like, Batman really pisses me off on a lot of levels. It's kind of why I don't like him. Which is also why it aggravates me that the Red Hood may be giving up guns now, which... fuck. Just fuck. But, yeah. like, it's a good dynamic you have. Like, Nightwing is the favorite son. Red Hood is the son that is the biggest disappointment in the family, which I like. I like characters who are just like, you know what? I'm going to do things my way, and if you don't like it, to hell with the consequences. I'm doing it my way. So he's basically like Nightwing, but with guns and less experience. And more deadly. Like, Nightwing can actually be deadlier, he just chooses not to be. And I also like how there's actually this Nazi guy in the comic that Red Hood actually kills. I can't remember how he kills him, but he killed him. I think Count Vertigo was also in it. And there was also a hyena. Like, I had no idea who these characters were when I saw them. Like, this was my introduction. This was more or less the first comic I ever bought. Or one of the first comics I ever bought. There was either this one or Justice League Dark, the Constantine origin. And yeah. It was really weird. I was like, who are these characters? And then they involved Deathstroke. Now, I knew who Deathstroke was because of the Arrowverse. So I knew who Deathstroke was, but that was it. And the other guy's Black Mask, didn't know him from Adam. Batman, I had watched a cartoon of as a kid, that was it. Nightwing, I knew he was a former Robin, but that was it. Like, some characters I knew of, and other characters I didn't know the first thing about. And, yeah, that was it. Like, if I had to rate this thing, 9.8. 9.8. Like, the art is fantastic. The story is enthralling. The characters are relatable and... Well, not relatable. Well, actually, yeah, relatable. Like, I relate with Red Hood on a lot of things. Like, there are probably times when you disagree with your father so much that you sometimes want to punch him. Like, that is... And also, the anger he feels towards Batman is understandable. I mean, he died, and Batman let his killer go on to kill more people. So, it's understandable why he does the things he does. And he's also a good, like, anti-Batman. And actually, the funny story of how this story came together was they actually did a story where someone was masquerading as Jason Todd just to fuck with Batman's head, and it turned out to be Clayface. Like, it actually turned out that it was Clayface in the. I mean, you later find out Jason Todd was involved in this all along. He switched at some point with Clayface in the fight, and then. Actually, no, that might be it. Anyway, this led to them deciding to bring Jason Todd back as the Red Hood. So, yeah, there's also that. And then they did a follow-up just to explain how Jason Todd came back to life, which I thought was a weird explanation, but I like it. I like it a whole lot more than... it's kind of convoluted, but at the same time, I like it. Like, to basically, like, spoiler, to give you a gist of it, there was this event where Superboy Prime was outside of the timeline, and he started punching his way through it. This had ripple effects into the world. One of these ripple effects affected Jason Todd. It restored him to life. Unfortunately, it did this after he had been buried. He dug his way out, stumbled his way into a street, got hit by a car, was catatonic. Talia threw him in the Lazarus pit, and that kind of restored him. But that was it. That was all she wrote. That was more or less how he came back. I mean, Talia helped him get teachers and helped train him to become... Well, that's about... She helped him get the skill set. Like, if you read the comic and you're wondering how a Robin learned how to be so deadly after coming back to life, that's how Talia helped him. She introduced him to teachers who would... train him these things, although he would kill most of his teachers because they turned out to be scumbags. And that's all I can really say. Like, it involves Nightwing, Batman. Like, Nightwing is very brief, but there's also Batman, Alfred, Black Mask, Deathstroke. Like, Deathstroke, like Nightwing, is very briefly in the story. And Also, I would also recommend the animated movie, which is also good. It kind of works mostly because of Jensen Ackles' voice acting. Like, there's this one line where Batman has hit the helicopter he's in with an electric cable, and he's like, "You want to dance? Let's dance." And he sells the crazy eccentricism of Red Hood to me. Also, Jensen Ackles, he's a really good performer, so I'm not that surprised. Like, I loved his run as Dean Winchester. I mean, I later ended up hating Dean Winchester, but in those early 5 seasons, or the first 3 seasons, Dean was my favorite character on that show. It ended with me not liking any character on the show. But yeah, for the first 3 seasons, he was the highlight of the show. Sam Winchester, I did not give a shit about. The guy who plays him seems alright. Anyway. Yeah, if you ever see it, Jensen Ackles really sells the performance, and if they ever do a live action of a seasoned Red Hood, later down his career, I want them to hire Jensen Ackles, because I think I heard once he wants to actually play Red Hood, and I'm like, do it. Why are you not hiring this guy on the spot? Get him and... what's the guy who plays Sam? Get him to play Nightwing. That would be a very good movie. I would pay to see that in theaters. Actually, no, I'd buy it on DVD, knowing my cheap ass. But, yeah, apparently they both want to play certain DC characters, and I'm like, do it. Jensen Ackles can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned as Red Hood, because we only have one other live-action performance to compare him to, and that's Walter, I think, Curran, the guy playing him on Titans, and he's also doing a good job as far as I'm concerned. But here I am getting sidetracked and digressing. If there's another thing I like about this comic, it's probably... There's actually this interesting debate on how to handle crime between Red Hood and Batman. Batman wants to rule them by fear. But he doesn't know, but he can't control the ones who are not afraid of him. And Jason's like, I'm doing what you want. I'm either taking them out or controlling them and mitigating the damage they can do. And yeah, I kind of like Red Hood's opinion on this. I like his perspective. And... Actually, no, I think I'll end the video with that. There is an interesting debate on how to fight crime in this. I don't think it has any place in the real world, but in comic books, oh yeah. And I also kind of like that it shows Red Hood, because normally he's someone ruled by anger, and this one, when he was a little unstable, and he had years of planning to prepare himself for this, he was in more control than he normally is. But yeah, I think that's where I'll end the video. Just give Under the Red Hood a shot. It's very good, very compelling, as I said, very enthralling. And it's probably the best way to introduce yourself to the Red Hood character, in my opinion. Either that or read The Lost Days. I really should do a video on that one as well. And, yeah, have a nice day. Remember, the game was rigged from the start.